Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Coram and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, where we saw modest gains for the indexes ahead of the big Fed decision, Ed.
Yeah, I think stocks and everybody else is sort of waiting. What is the Fed going to say, and how are we all going to react to that? But we want to take a look at a few stocks that showed bullish action today: Louisiana-Pacific, Atkore, and ZIM Integrated Shipping.
All right, we'll get into those charts, but first let's take a look at the major indexes. So the NASDAQ today up about 0.2%, same for the Dow. The S&P 500 up about 0.5% today. So we are early on in a rally attempt here, Ed. So investors shouldn't get their hopes up that we have now 2 up days in a row.
Yeah, a couple of days, and today was just sort of back and forth and, just nudged over the line. We'll see what the Fed has to say. That'll be important. But I think what investors beyond that need to be looking for is, can we get a follow-through day? And that'll be at least a couple days from now. Something that a real big, powerful move on the one or more of the indexes in higher volume the prior day, signifying that institutions are saying, I want to take part in this, suggesting that the rally has legs. Even then, investors should gradually build up your exposure. We don't know if the new rally would really last. You don't know which stocks and sectors necessarily will. But right now, you should take a much more of a cautious approach. We've seen a number of mini rallies, one-day rallies, two-day rallies. We'd like to see a real sustained rally before making big bets.
Exactly, especially with the key Fed decision coming up. Ed, what is the expected outcome tomorrow? Can we sense what sort of reaction might happen, or is it best to not try to predict that?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we rose sharply, fell sharply, and closed flat. I mean, all in one afternoon. That can sometimes happen, but we're expecting a 50 basis point hike in the Fed funds rate, as well as the Fed deciding to start reducing its big balance sheet. I think the real issue is, how much will the Fed be signaling about rate hikes down the road? We're going to get big rate hikes. The question is, are we going to get a 75 basis point hike in June and July? A lot of expectations for that, what they say about that, what they say about inflation and other things. So the market could react positively. Oh, it's finally out of the way. We knew there was a lot of bad news coming. But honestly, it could go the other way too. So it's really, it's almost like just going into the roulette table and betting on black or red. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be big action. It's just better to step back and wait until the conditions really are better.
Mm-hmm. Very true, Ed. Okay, just a quick look at the other major indexes. I'm going to fly right through these. Here's a look at the S&P 500 and the Dow today, as well as the Russell 2000, the IWM ETF, all trying to find bottoms. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have, but early on in rally attempts. And a quick look at a visual of the 10-year Treasury yield, 0TNX on MarketSmith, just continuing a big move here. Could we see this move in a big way tomorrow, perhaps, or not?
Certainly could. I mean, it may be more on the short end, just because raising the short end by 50 basis points is going to make a move. So it'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, it looks like the trend is going to keep going higher. This could be where the short end could be at 3% at the end of the year. So this could move sharply. But, if it came down 15 basis points, it wouldn't be the biggest surprise either. I mean, the markets might really react in a lot of different ways that you don't expect off of this meeting.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some stocks like LPX, Louisiana-Pacific, in the wood products group. Looks like a pretty strong close for the stock after its earnings today, up over 9%. Some volume behind the move, clearing an early entry.
Yeah, nice move on earnings, faster earnings and sales growth, rebounded from the 50 and 200-day line, broke a trend line. So those are some early buy signals if you wanted to go for it. I mean, it's like it is ahead of the Fed. I'm just, we got to be careful about that. If you do step in, be ready to step out, and, don't. But there is some positive. The relative strength line is at the highest since at least in the consolidation. And honestly, by the end of the day, that might have gotten up to, on a weekly, I think that might be hitting like a 15-year high or something. I'm not sure. It's right around those levels. So that's positive. There's some other companies in its group that are in that area that are doing pretty well. More broadly, there's the building products that there was some positive action. We'll look at Atkore in a moment. So, certain stocks that are doing well here. We've seen other sectors look good, and then fall down, like REITs, like travel stocks, like medical products. So just because they're doing well right now doesn't mean they'll continue to do well.
And Louisiana-Pacific was our stock of the day today, so make sure you check out that article for more details. And moving forward, make sure you look at that stock of the day during the regular session, especially in uptrends. Some great actionable opportunities, like you said, potentially actionable here today, as long as you're managing risk. But just know we are still in correction mode. We're still looking for a potential follow-through day. And you mentioned Atkore, Ed, so let's go there. ATKR, a sort of a related group here, so a gap up for the stock, which also reported earnings today, up 13%, and some pretty hefty volume behind this move.
Yeah, so strong growth here, gapped above the 50-day and 200-day lines. Intraday, at one point you could have argued, hey, that looks like something that you could be buying. And for a while, it did pretty well, but then it faded off. So at this point, maybe you'd want to wait for more strength or maybe for a handle to form. I mean, that could be, sometimes you'll see that gap ups from low in the base. Maybe it'll form a handle. And so there's that. And that might be the safer play, especially in this kind of market,
right?
Because sometimes, stocks will get that one-day pop on earnings and then they'll fall back, especially if the market does. So but it's nice to see. This is an area certainly to watch. These kind of sectors.
Yes, and we got to keep our watch list fresh. So stocks that have this nice momentum, let's see if they can hold up. That'll be a key tell there. All right, and ZIM zoomed higher today. The shipping stock up about 9%. Looks like volume was a little light, but it got back above a key technical level today.
Yeah, and the updates have been on higher volume than the low days. The one exception was when sort of it bottomed a couple of weeks ago. And so, is that bad volume? Is that good volume? So there are some positive trends. Look, in a more aggressive market, we want to be talking, it's getting above the 50-day line. Let's start going in early entry. I don't know. It feels like that would be pretty aggressive. There are some shipping stocks doing well. The dry bulk have done better, but it's nice to see this one coming back. A lot of different things in play. It's hard to keep track of the COVID shutdown. There's all sorts of things going on that it's not easy to understand how the stocks and the businesses should react. I'll also note that Matson, which is sort of in the same container field, they're reporting tonight. So that could react as well to those earnings. But again, another sector that you just want to keep your eye on, build up those watch lists,
right.
And see what happens. And, write those watch lists in pencil. Though, those you're going to be changing around. Some of the stocks that were on there a week or two that looked pretty strong or looked intriguing don't look so intriguing anymore. So these might do well, but, maybe in a few days you say, they didn't work out so well.
Great points there, Ed. Yeah, for ZIM, we've got earnings in 2 weeks. We'll have to see if the stock can maybe form the right side of a base here, tighten up in the meantime, and if we can get market conditions to improve. But you're right, a lot can change between now and then, so that eraser might come in handy for those watch lists. We'll have to see. All right. Thanks so much, Ed. I will see everyone over on Leaderboard Scorecard. That is happening here in just about 15 minutes from now. Go to leaderboard.investors.com for details on that for subscribers and trialists. We'll see you there, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning on IBD Live.